Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Harley and I like to talk about books. Today we're going to talk about the 20 books that I want to try to read in summer this year. Um, I live in South Alabama, so summer kind of starts in May, but in my brain it's June, July, and August. So these are the 20 books that I would like to try to get to in those 3 months. I'm only going to do 20, which I thought 20, like it would be hard for me to choose 20, but it was actually kind of hard for me to pick 20. So yeah, we're just going to get into it. I'm not going to go in any particular order. These were just as they came to me. I put them down. The first one that I want to try to get to is Fearless by Lauren Roberts, which is the third book in the what's it called? The Powerless trilogy. It came out, I think, last month in April, yeah. And I just have not been in a fantasy mood lately. Like every time I try to read a fantasy, I'm just not feeling it. So I haven't made it to it yet. It's a long book, and I have the physical copy, and I would really like to not have to buy it on Kindle as well. And I can't read physical books at work, so I haven't been able to read that book yet. Anyway, but since it's the third book in the trilogy, I don't really want to talk about what it's about because it might give away spoilers and stuff. So, yeah. The second book, I want to read an Abby Jimenez book this year. I think I've only read like some short stories of hers, and I really just want to read like an actual one of her books because people love her. They love her writing, and I think I want to either start with her newest book, which is Say You'll Remember Me, or I want to start. She has like a interconnected series with like 3 books. I want to start with the first one, which is Part of Your World, and that one is about. It says, after a wild bet, gourmet grilled cheese sandwich and cuddle with a baby goat? What? I'm confused.
A few moments later.
So she's an ER doctor, and her parents are surgeons, and then he is a carpenter who's 10 years younger than her, so it's an age, like a backwards age gap. Actually sounds pretty cool. Okay, next, I really want to read Jessa Hastings' new book, The Conditions of Will. It also came out in April, and I think I've read like the first 5 chapters. I just haven't been in the mood for it because her books need your like undivided attention, and I just haven't been in the mood to give a book my undivided attention. But I want to give it what it deserves. This one is a standalone, so it's not part of like the Magnolia Parks universe. So, London-based Georgia Carter, professional lie detector and body language savant, has long been estranged from her infuriating, closed-minded, wealthy South Carolina family. After a falling out years ago, the chasm runs deep between the Black Sheep, Georgia, and her gay, alcoholic brother, and their parents and elder siblings. But when their father dies suddenly, Georgia returns to the States for the funeral, where she comes face to face with Sam Penny, her brother's AA sponsor. Amid the tensions, dramas, and revelations of the family reunion, Georgia and Sam are instantly drawn to each other. However, Georgia's brother also harbors feelings for Sam, and the last thing Georgia wants to do is hurt the only family she's ever really had. When their father's will reveals a surprising bequest to a mysterious stranger, Georgia's ability to read people becomes crucial in unraveling her father's hidden past. The delicate balance within the family teeters and secrets, both old and new, threaten to push them beyond the breaking point. There are only so many cracks a damaged family can take before it shatters. So her and her gay brother have feelings for the same man. I can see how that might be a little sticky situation. Okay, next is an Ellen Hildebrand book, 28 Summers. I have never read an Ellen Hildebrand book. I did try to read Hotel Nantucket last year, and I can't remember why, but I soft DNF'd it, I think, and I never went back to it. maybe I'll finish that one first. But one of my friends really, really wants me to read 28 Summers, and I told her that I would read it this year. And what better time to read it than in the summer? So I have no idea what it's about. Their secret love affair has lasted for decades, but this could be the summer that changes everything. When Mallory Blessing's son Link receives deathbed instructions from his mother to call a number on a slip of paper in her desk drawer, he's not sure what to expect. But he certainly does not expect Jake McCloud to answer. It's the late spring 2020, and Jake's wife, Ursula, is the front runner in the upcoming presidential election. There must be a mistake, Link thinks. How do Mallory and Jake know each other? Flashback to the sweet summer of 1993. Mallory has just inherited a beachfront cottage on Nantucket from her aunt, and she agrees to host her brother's bachelor party. Cooper's friend from college, Jake McCloud, attends, and Jake and Mallory form a bond that will persevere through marriage, children, and Ursula's stratospheric political rise until Mallory learns she's dying. Based on the classic film Same Time Next Year, which Mallory and Jake watch every summer, 28 Summers explores the agony and romance of a one-weekend-per-year affair and the dramatic ways this relationship complicates and enriches their lives and the lives of people they love. Sounds like a lot of drama. Another book that the same friend really wants me to read is Heavenly Bodies. It's a fantasy, so it hasn't been on my radar recently because, like I said, fantasies haven't been doing great for me lately. But not only does she like it, but I've seen people on TikTok talking about it, and they just really love it. It's when did it come out? Okay, so it came out in 2022. I think it might have been like an indie published, and it got traditionally published this year, so it's coming out with new covers. And I want to say edits. So, like, there are going to be things in the original books that they took out. What's it about? In a world where no entities exist but the stars, cruel and merciless gods that watch over the world, Alara has been cursed by fate, a prophecy that promises she will fall for a star and it will kill them both, but when one decides to wreak havoc on Alara's kingdom, she is forced to flee into the arms of her enemy in the neighboring country. As she learns about her own magic and the death of the stars to see, she also finds herself learning more about the country she is forced to take refuge in, and the enemy prince forced to train her into a weapon. Something dark brews within her, a power made of night and shadows that begs to be broken free. It sounds good. Hopefully I can get to it this summer. It's over 600 pages. I didn't think it was that long. Okay, next is one that I have been waiting for since last summer, I think. And it's the second book in the Webs We Weave series by Krista and Becca Ritchie, Destructively Mine. The first one, I think, was called Dishonestly Yours, and it's about this Con family. It's these two women. They grow up best friends, and when they get married, I don't know if they came from Con families or not, but they got married, had kids, and then they raised their kids to be Con people too. And then they started like doing cons as like a family. Everybody had like their own job. Everybody did their own thing. I just really liked that concept. I thought it was cool to have like a romance set with con men. Yeah. In the first book, you have Phoebe and Haley, and they're the two best friends' daughters. So they're not related. They're just best friends. And then Haley's older brother, Rocky, is also a main character. And so the two girls want out of the con man life, so they like run away to like this small town and try to live legally, like with normal jobs. And Rocky follows them. So he's Haley's older brother, but he has feelings for Phoebe. That's where the romance part comes in. But at the end, I don't want to say that. That's all I'm going to say, because if I say anything else, it's going to give away what happens in the first book. So, anyway, romance, con men, running away, and like doing being like different identities. If you like that, read it. I'm just really excited about the second book. Okay, this next one, I want to get to it this summer. Like I want to get to it soon, but I mostly want to get to it by the end of the year. And that is The Women by Kristen Hanna, the queen of historical fiction, Kristen Hanna. I have heard nothing but good things about this book, and listen to this. This has 1.2 million ratings on Goodreads, and it is a 4.6. That's insane that the rating can be that high with that many ratings. Anyway, I don't even know what it's about. It says women can be heroes. When 20-year-old nursing student Frankie McGrath hears these words, it is a revelation. Raised in the sun-drenched, idyllic world of Southern California and sheltered by her conservative parents, she has always prided herself on doing the right thing. But in 1965, the world is changing, and she suddenly dares to imagine a different future for herself. When her brother ships off to serve in Vietnam, she joins the Army Nurse Corps and follows his path. As green and inexperienced as the men sent to Vietnam to fight, Frankie is overwhelmed by the chaos and destruction of war. Each day is a gamble of life and death, hope and betrayal. Friendships run deep and can be shattered in an instant. In war, she meets and becomes one of the lucky, the brave, the broken, and the lost, but war is just the beginning for Frankie and her veteran friends. The real battles lies in coming home to a changed and divided America, to angry protesters, and to a country that wants to forget Vietnam. The Women is the story of one woman gone to war, but it shines a light on all women who put themselves in harm's way and whose sacrifice and commitment to their country has too often been forgotten. A novel about deep friendships and bold patriotism. That was a mouthful. I feel like with Kristen Hanna, like, the synopsises kind of sound boring, but when you actually read the book, it's really good. Okay, the next one is How to Sell a Romance by Alexa Martin. This one actually comes out on July 15th, so I won't be able to read it until then. I mostly want to read this one because I have read another book by this author, and I really, really liked it, and that one was Better Than Fiction. I really loved that book. Okay, so How to Sell a Romance is about Emerson Pierce loves everything about being a kindergarten teacher except the painfully low salary. It isn't until she hears about Petunia Lemon, an opportunity to sell makeup products, make some extra money, and meet a group of skincare aficionados, that she can begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Sure, it sounds a little too good to be true, but what's the worst that could happen? Investigative reporter Lucas Miller didn't always have a chip on his shoulder until his wife joined Petunia Lemon, drained their savings, and filed for divorce. Now he's a little bitter, a lot single, and determined to expose the company. After infiltrating their largest convention yet, the last thing he expects is to lose sight of his mission for one night with the gorgeous woman at the bar. When Emerson and Lucas learn that she's his daughter's teacher, they decide to ignore their scorching chemistry until things with Petunia Lemon turn downright diabolical, and Emerson turns to Lucas for help. They work together to bring the company down, but can the two come out on top in this pyramid scheme of love? I think it sounds like it's probably going to be pretty funny and cute and like a fun, silly time. So that sounds great to me. No! Oh no! Okay, I'm confused because the book that I have next is Fury Bound by Fable Sorensen, which is the Dire Bound Book 2, which the first one I devoured. That book was so good. It came out in February, and the second one was supposed to come out in July. It says it's supposed to come out July 30th, 2025, but there's also the same book on here that says on sale March of 2026. But it says the deluxe edition. I'm going to be beside myself if I can't read this book this summer. And I have to wait until March of next year. I'm going to have to look more into that, but as of right now, I want to read that book this summer. So, the first book, Direbound, is about this girl who joins the military to rescue her sister from the front lines. She got kidnapped. And after she joins the military, she learns that it's a bonding year, which means all of the new recruits have to climb a mountain and potentially be bonded to a dire wolf. And so she climbs the mountain, she gets bonded to a dire wolf. So the way I explain it to people is it's kind of take this very lightly. I'm not saying it is exactly like it. It's kind of like Fourth Wing, but with dire wolves. So they get their magic from the dire wolves. They can talk to their dire wolves in their head, and they ride the dire wolves like you do the dragons in Fourth Wing. Am I saying that it is exactly like Fourth Wing? No. So don't come for me. Don't come for me. Okay, the next book is Passion Project by London Sperry. This one came out in April as well. I want to say it's a debut novel, but I've heard good things about it. You're following Bennett, who goes on a first date with Henry and drunkenly tells him that she's not ready to date, that she has no passion for anything in her life. So he takes it upon himself to take her around New York City doing things, trying to bring passion back into her life. And they fall in love because it's a romance book and that's what happens. But I've heard good things about it, so I want to read it. Okay, this next one, Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I want to say, yeah, it came out like 2 or 3 years ago. 2022. It's got almost 1 million ratings on Goodreads and it's 4.3. It's like a general fiction, I think, but I was reading about it earlier, and it's about this woman whose her husband died, and she doesn't like to just do nothing, sit around. So she gets a job at an aquarium. She does the night shift. And years ago, her son mysteriously vanished on a boat, like 30 years ago. And this is where it gets kind of weird, because it says that she becomes acquainted with Marcellus, a giant Pacific octopus living in the aquarium. Marcellus knows more than anyone can imagine, but wouldn't dream of lifting one of his 8 arms for his human captors until he forms a remarkable friendship with Tova, which is a lady. Ever the detective, Marcellus deduces what happened the night Tova's son disappeared, and now Marcellus must use every trick his old invertebrate body can muster to unearth the truth for her before it's too late. So I'm intrigued to find out if we get the point of view of the octopus and how he tells her where her son is. I mostly want to read this one because I've heard really good things about it, and I'm kind of having FOMO. Like, I want to know what's so great about it. Like, so I want to read it, and I feel like this kind of book is a summer book. So the next one is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. So it's the Boys of Tommen series, book number 1. I actually didn't see myself wanting to read this because, like, I've seen people talk about it, and I think it's kind of a romance, but the characters go through, like, a lot. So it's like a heavy romance. I think there's, like, domestic violence, I think, from their parents. So I haven't wanted to read it. But the main character is, like, a rugby player at this college, and the girl shows up midway through the school year, and they become friends. And so I think she has a really bad home life, and he ends up paying more attention to her than he does rugby. It's a long book too. It's over 600 pages, but everybody who reads it is just obsessed with it. So I'm going to give it a shot. The next one is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young, and it's the second book in the interconnected standalone series with Out on a Limb. Out on a Limb is a pregnancy trope, an accidental pregnancy trope, and I absolutely loved that book. I gave it 5 stars. It was such a great depiction of a healthy relationship, especially when like a sticky situation like that happens. So I really want to read this one because it is about the girl main character and out on a limb, her best friend and her husband, and they've been together since they were in high school. They're like high school sweethearts, and they're at the point in their marriage and their life where they still love each other and they still have a good like marriage, but they're struggling with growing like individually. So they go on this like wilderness hike thing, and I just want to read it because it's in the same world as the other one, and I really loved Out on a Limb, so I feel like I'm really gonna love this one. So okay, this one actually just came out like last week, I think, or this week. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. She wrote the One Dark Window duology, and I absolutely loved that series. And so I don't even need to know what this one's about. I want to read it. This one is actually a gothic fantasy. So personally, I'm kind of surprised that it came out like in the summer and not in the fall because I feel like gothic fantasies are like September, October, November reads because they're kind of like spooky vibes. But what do I know? I'm not a publisher, so that's just my 2 cents. But it is a gothic mist cloaked tale of prophetess who is a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. Sybil has spent 9 years dreaming of having no dreams at all. Like the other foundling girls who traded a decade of service for a home in the great cathedral, Sybil is a diviner. In her dreams, she receives visions from 6 unearthly figures known as omens. From them, she can predict terrible things before they occur, and lords and common folk alike travel across the kingdom for their words. Travel across the kingdom to learn their futures by her dreams. Just as she and her sister diviners near the end of their service, a mysterious knight arrives at the cathedral. Rude, heretical, and devilishly handsome, the knight, Roderick, has no respect for Sybil's visions. But when Sybil's fellow diviners begin to vanish one by one, she has no choice but to seek his help and find him. For the world outside the cathedral's cloister is wrought with peril. Only the gods have the answer she is seeking, and as much as she'd rather avoid Roderick's dark eyes and sharp tongue, only a heretic can defeat a god. That sounds good. Okay, this is what I love about Goodreads is that, when you put it on your want to read, it tells you the date. So I put this one on my TBR a year ago. Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole is a fantasy series. I think the last book is either about to come out or just came out. But it's been on my want to read for quite some time, and I've heard everybody who reads it loves it. Let's see. When old secrets catch fire, everything will burn. In a mortal world colonized by the gods and ruled over by the descended, their cruel offspring, Dion learns to escape the insular life of her poor village. Her mother's sudden disappearance and the discovery of a dangerous secret about her past offer Dion an unexpected opportunity to enter the dark world of descended royalty and unlock the web of mysteries her mother left behind. With the dying king's handsome, mysterious heir watching her every move, and a ruthless mortal alliance recruiting her to join the growing civil war, Dion will have to navigate the unwritten rules of love, power, and politics in order to save her family and all of mortal kind. Spark of the Everflame is the first book in the Kindred's Curse saga, a 4-book fantasy book series. So I think the 4th one just came out. For some reason, I thought it was about something else. Now, this one, I feel like if you haven't read it already, like me, it is a must-read for summer, and it's Beach Read by Emily Henry. I think I am in my Emily Henry era. I read Happy Place last year, and then recently I have read Funny Story and her newest one, Great Big Beautiful Life, and I just really want to keep reading all of her books. I wish there were more to read instead of I have 3, Beach Read, Book Lovers, and People We Meet on Vacation. I wouldn't put it past me to read all of those this summer, but I think beach read is my next priority. So I don't even know what it's about. A romance writer who no longer believes in love and a literary writer stuck in a rut engage in a summer-long challenge that may just upend everything they believe about happily ever afters. Augustus Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction. January Andrews writes best-selling romance. When she pens a happily ever after, he kills off his entire cast. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is that for the next 3 months they're living in a neighboring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block. Until one hazy evening, one thing leads to another, and they strike a deal designed to force them out of their creative ruts. Augustus will spend the summer writing something happy, and January will pen the next great American novel. She'll take him on field trips worthy of any rom-com montage, and he'll take her to interview surviving members of a backwoods death cult. Everyone will finish a book, and no one will fall in love. Really. Okay, that just sounds really great. There's just something about reading a romance about two writers that I just love. So, definitely going to read that one this year. Okay, this next one has been on my TBR since September of 2023. I'll put books on my Goodreads TBR and literally never think about them again. But anyway, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. Chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team and Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality, except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant, Nobel Prize-nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. True chemistry results, but like science, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth finds herself not only a single mother, but the reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at Six. Elizabeth's unusual approach to cooking, combine 1 tablespoon acetic acid with a pinch of sodium chloride, proves revolutionary, but as her following grows, not everyone is happy, because as it turns out, Elizabeth isn't just teaching women to cook, she's daring them to change the status quo. I like to read about strong women characters, and this one sounds like it's going to be, I feel like this one's just going to be like a good read all around. Okay, this one's been on my TBR even longer. It's been on there since June 30th of 2023, and it's One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. If you haven't read a Rebecca Searle book, her books are like unconventional endings, kind of. I wouldn't say like magical realism, but her books kind of have like a this would never happen aspect to it. So her newest book that came out last year was Expiration Dates, and it was about a girl who she would get pieces of paper every time she would start dating a new guy, and it would tell her exactly how long she would be with him. So that would never happen. And then she has 2 other books that I've read that kind of go with like sayings or questions that we already asked. Like In 5 Years is about a girl who she wakes up one morning and she's 5 years in the future, and so she gets a glimpse into what her life's going to be like. And then the dinner list was about the question that you ask everybody: if you could have dinner with any 5 people, I think it's 5, dead or alive, who would it be? And so in that book, she gets to have dinner with those 5 people. But all of her endings are like not what you expect it's going to be, but still just as great. So I haven't read another one of her books in quite some time. But One Italian Summer, it's like 250 pages. It's really short. And I have no idea what it's about. It says, when Kathy's mother dies, she is left reeling. Carol isn't just Kathy's mom, but her best friend and first phone call. She had all the answers, and now when Kathy needs her the most, she is gone. To make matters worse, their planned mother-daughter trip of a lifetime looms. 2 weeks in Positano, the magical town Carol spent the summer right before she met Kathy's father. Oh, it's Katie. God, I can't read today. Katie has been waiting years for Carol to take her, and now she is faced with embarking on the adventure alone. But as soon as she steps foot on the Amalfi Coast, Katie begins to feel her mother's spirit. Buoyed by the stunning waters, beautiful cliffsides, delightful residents, and of course delectable food, Katie feels herself coming back to life. And then Carol appears. See, this is where the weird part comes in the flesh, healthy, suntanned, and 30 years old. Katie doesn't understand what is happening or how. All she can focus on is that she has somehow impossibly gotten her mother back. Over the course of one Italian summer, Katie gets to know Carol not as her mother, but as a young woman before her. She is not exactly who Katie imagined she might be, however, and soon Katie must reconcile the mother who knew everything with the young woman who does not yet have a clue. That sounds good. I like how her books are always a little different. So this book, I've seen a lot of people talking about it, especially Emmy. I don't know if you watch her YouTube videos, Emmy Rossum, but she loves anything romantasy, and she has been reading the Lady of Darkness series, and it sounded really good to me when I read about it. And when I got on here, I realized that I had put it on my TBR in June of 2023 and completely forgot about it. So I could have already read this book, and I just haven't. This one is, it says, a cage. Owned by a ruthless assassin lord, Scarlet Monroe and her two sisters have been trained since they were children to torture and take life. They are the most feared trio on the continent, but they are also wild and unpredictable. A tragic night has Scarlet finding herself locked away in a noble's household, trapped and forgotten until she's ready to fall into line. Until the day she is presented with a job. If she completes the assignment, her payment will be something she has coveted for 10 years. Revenge against the Fae Fire Prince, who brutally killed her mother 10 years ago. Is she willing to sacrifice her ideals for retribution? But when children begin disappearing from her home, all her plans are put on hold as she races to save the most innocent. With the help of an old friend, a jilted lover, and a mysterious newcomer who claims the magic of the Fae is possible in the mortal lands, Scarlet delves into the darkest corners of the world. Forgotten secrets will come to light, and she will discover the darkness extends far beyond her own kingdom. That sounds good. Fae, magic, assassins, count me in. Okay, this last one is called The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. I want to say this one popped up like on Goodreads as a you might want to read this based on your reading, and it came out in April this year. So it says The Raven Scholar, a masterfully woven and playfully inventive tale of imperial intrigue, cutthroat competition, and one scholar's quest to uncover the truth. Let us fly now to the Empire of Oran, where after 24 years of peace, Burson the Brusque must end his reign. In the dizzying heat of midsummer, 7 contenders compete to replace him. They are exceptional warriors, thinkers, strategists, and the best of the best. Then one of them is murdered. It falls to Nema Craw, the Emperor's brilliant, idiosyncratic high scholar, to find the killer before the trials end. To do so, she must untangle a web of deadly secrets that stretches back generations, all while competing against 6 warriors with their own dark histories and fierce ambitions. Nema believes she is alone, but we are here to help. All she has to do is let us in. If she succeeds, she will win the throne. If she fails, death awaits her, but we won't let that happen. We are the Raven, and we are magnificent. I feel like if there's a competition and a mystery or a murder mystery, I'm going to read it. So that one sounds really good. There are not a lot of ratings, so it's still new and unknown, and I like discovering books early, so maybe I'll read that one sooner rather than later. So that is the 20 books that I hope I can get to this summer. Obviously there's going to be like new releases, and depending on my mood, we'll see. But those are the ones that are on my radar at the moment. This summer I'm just really feeling romance and general fiction for some reason. So I'll probably read a lot of that, and I am like really excited actually. So maybe I'm just in my general fiction romance era, and fantasy will come back to me in the fall. Who knows? But that's all I've got for this video. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.